What mythic gear could every brawler have? Let's review some of the best ideas. Now, these are community-made ideas. Shout out to Pineapple and Supri. Also, remember, mythic gears are not supposed to be like as strong as star powers. It's supposed to be something like a 10% boost to how strong it makes the brawler on average. Alright, now what about a mythic gear idea for Mortis, where every time he misses an attack or he doesn't hit a brawler, he actually reloads some of that attack back. And definitely for the average player, I feel like a lot of us are missing our attacks, or at least we're not getting as many hits as we thought we might. Well, in this case, we get a small amount of redemption. What about for Sam, a gear where when he's picking up his super, the pickup radius is increased by 10%. I don't know about you guys playing Sam, sometimes I swear I would have picked that thing up. Or maybe it goes like on top of water and you actually just can't get it at all. Like, dude, really? And then for Buster, how about when he has a super active, a gear that increases his movement speed a little bit? This one, obviously it would be useful for Buster. Part of the reason Max is so good with Buster and Brawl Ball is for that speed. But in this case, you can use it in many different ways. Now this one for Otis, I'm not so sure. And for Otis, who has one of the strongest attacks in the game, that's why I'm not so sure how I feel about this, at least if you're using the star power that gives him an extra projectile. It might be kind of broken, but we'll see. For Janet, her super can now be controlled 33% more effectively. I'm definitely all for an easier to control Janet super. We're not all amazing with Janet and can hit the majority of her bombs. Some of us are kind of terrible with it. What about for Eve, making the health of her hatchlings decay even slower? If you compare this to the Tickhead one, where the Tickhead got an extra 1,000 health, instead of one spawn, she has 3 of them. So it's kind of a health boost for 3 different spawnlings. How about for Fang? His first impact with his super does an extra 250 damage. I think the idea is pretty good, but I might make it 250 damage for every time you hit someone with your super. The first hit, just 250 damage is not that much, especially when you compare it with some of the healing stuff that you can get. What about for Lola? Her ego and herself gets an extra 400 max health. I definitely like the idea of giving her ego more health, and maybe it's fine to give to her as well. You compare it to Shield Gear, which is 600 health, but on the other side, you need to get to full health and then wait 10 seconds to get that. So maybe this is a little bit strong, but I like the idea. Now, this would make an annoying brawler even more annoying, and that's Ash, where his range gets increased by 5% every time his rage level increases, so up to 15%. Which could be a solid amount. Now, 15% of a small range isn't going to go crazy, but he already does a ton of damage at full range, so this might be really annoying. What about for Buzz, adding some damage to his super? At least when Buzz is facing against tanks, this would be a really good gear to have. Versus other stuff, you almost never would need this, but it's not bad. I love this idea for Belle, allowing her to have 2 separate targets hit with her super at the same time. Because sometimes I feel like you mark an enemy, but your teammates and you aren't able to kill them. And then you have your super back, and again, it's like, do I use my super?
That is so relatable.
Just feels kind of awkward. Why not have a gear like this to solve it? What about for Ruffs, making him an even stronger support brawler? So spread out across your team, it could be a potential extra 400 max health, but of course, it's only while you have that power up activated, which is probably not the majority of the time. What about for Lou, someone who relies on hitting his attacks to really do that much, at least until he gets a super? I don't think this is a bad thing. And to be honest, I'm probably mostly only saying that because it's just 5%, so it wouldn't be a huge deal. But Lou's already kind of annoying, to be fair. What about for Colette, allowing her super to attack faster, 20% faster super? It's very obvious where you're gonna end up at the end of your super, and people can attack that before you even get there. So I think this would be good. What about for Surge, a gear that scales with him as he powers up? It would definitely make him very strong at the highest upgrade, but maybe it'd be a bad gear at the lowest upgrade possibly. What about for Gale, giving a small damage increase to his super? I know some people a lot of times just spam their attacks and use their super and end up blowing the enemy away, and they're very low health and they can't finish them off. This could allow those people to kind of mitigate those mistakes. How about for Meg, allowing her mech health to decay a little bit slower? I really love this idea. This could slightly make her better, but again, this gear is useless when you don't have your mecha up, so I think it could be good. How about for Amber, allowing her super fluid to ignite faster? Basically making it harder for them to escape. And like kind of people, you know, they go into the fluid and then they go back out trying to get you to light it on fire. In this case, it would be harder for them to avoid that once they get caught. Give Crow an extra tick to his poison damage. This sounds maybe too strong in my opinion. Not only is this extra damage, but it also means they can't heal for another second. And then you can also use your slowing gadget a second later as well. What about for Spike? Increasing the radius of his super. I don't think this will be broken at all. It's a solid super. It doesn't deal a lot of damage. It's not a crazy idea. What about for Squeak? Allowing his super to detonate a little bit faster. I don't think this is necessarily that helpful. As long as it's a hit, you're pretty much good because almost everyone uses the slowing star power with Squeak. How about for Byron, increasing the healing of his super? In this case, it says 10% and not applying to the damage. I think you have to apply it to the damage. This is how Brawl Stars does things. It has to be simple, easy to understand. Now for Sprout, allowing his super to have one extra tile. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about this, but making it a wider super on average, I think could be a solid thing for Sprout. And it's not like it's allowing him to deal more damage or getting a super faster. It depends on how well you use it to get value out of it. What about for Mr. P, a gear that increases the health of his porters, his penguins that come out of those things? I think this is a fine idea. Doesn't buff him in any way, just only when he has those spawnables. Still think it's cool. Now for Tara, increasing the damage that her super pull does by 15%. So this doesn't make the shadow that spawns afterwards stronger at all. It's just that pull damage when she sucks them in. How about for Bonnie? During her super, she lands 10% faster. I think this is definitely good, especially when you're launching at full range. This just allows you to be a little bit more accurate for when you're landing and when you're timing it. How about for Grom, making him more of a wall breaker? Allow his super to break an extra wall for every one of those bombs that goes out. I mean, the super technically breaks walls, but it's almost a useless wall break. So if you want Grom to be able to break walls, now he kind of actually can. For Griff, what about a small range increase to his super? Definitely one of the strongest parts of his kits, but it's not a huge range increase, so maybe it's fine. Now this, I'm not sure how I feel about because it's Edgar. This gear gives his super a stun of 0.3 seconds whenever he lands and hits an enemy. I don't know if that's too broken or not. Like any sort of stun just feels like weird to give Edgar that, but it's not a long stun, right? Now, what about Nani's super peep lasting longer? This is a really interesting idea to me because a lot of people do kind of miss, and a lot of times they're just circling until they hit, but sometimes they just run out of time. Well, maybe you won't now. What about for B? When you use her super and hit 2 or more people, it instantly charges her shot, even if it wasn't previously charged. This might be a little too complex for Brawl Stars. They like stuff to be super, super simple, but I like the idea otherwise. How about for BB, allowing her super to travel faster? For those of us who either on purpose or on accident have good aim with her supers, this would allow you to get a lot more value out of it. How about Frank, allowing his super attack speed to be 20% faster? Now, of course, the super is the strongest part of Frank, but hey, tanks have been out of the meta for a really long time. Maybe Frank does deserve that buff to push him back into the meta. This would probably do it. Now, how about a Pam gear that increases the health of her healing turret? I mean, hey, compare that to the Tick had 1000 health. I think this is totally fine. This is a stationary target. How about for Piper, giving her super an extra bomb? Honestly, I love this idea, especially if you like put it in the middle, because sometimes people are able to dodge. You can technically stand in the middle and dodge all 4. But at least in this case, instead of getting hit by like just one Piper bomb, maybe you're getting hit more consistently by at least 2. What about for Gus, allowing his super to deal 800 damage when it passes through an enemy? Now, when I first thought about this, I thought it was a terrible idea because if you're aiming at your allies, almost 99% of the time, you're never hitting an enemy. But the one thing this could do is if you need to finish off an enemy, this could be a way to do it. What about for Jackie, allowing her to restore some health for every enemy she pulls in with her super? In this case, it says 500. Maybe that's too much, maybe not. So this could be a good boost. How about for Carl, when he supers and he's supering over an ally, it heals them for 100 health per second. Carl really should not be using his super in this way because you want to use your super to get your next super, right? Charge it back, deal damage, be super fast, be annoying. This might give you some deja vu. How about for Penny, whenever her super turret gets destroyed, it does a little explosion damage. Yes, I don't know if you guys remember those bombs falling from the sky afterward. I guess this would not be the same, just an explosion. Kind of like when you place it down, perhaps, with that damage star power. How about a gear for Daryl, where every time he hits an enemy with his super, he heals 500 health. I think this would be fine for Daryl. If you have shield star power, he would become incredibly hard to kill. What about for Rico? Whenever he uses his super, he restores 1% of his ammo for every shot he bounces with his super. So a max of like 15 or 20% of your ammo can be restored with that super. So it's never gonna restore one shot, but it's a small like damage buff in a way if you're going for super damage. All right, now I'm gonna do all of these at once because they're all the same idea for the most part, and that's making their super last longer. For all these brawlers, it's one of the best parts of their kit. Now the extra length of time listed for these definitely varies, but it should probably only be like half a second, maybe 1 second for all of these. But it's the best part of their kit for the most part, so I can understand making that part last a little longer. How about a gear for Poco that allows him to heal a little bit more? I think this could be fine. I mean, a 10% buff to the amount he heals isn't that crazy big of a buff, so if you really want to go that super healing build, go for it. All right, for Barley, this gear idea has his super lasting longer and getting an extra hit in. I think you can only do one of those two things. Either last longer or get the extra attack on the super, because either one of those is a strong idea. Now El Primo, similar gear idea as Bonnie, where he lands with his super faster. Again, like you do that long range jump, a lot of times like they go, oh, he's jumping there, I'm going away from it. Duh, and then they're gone. And unless you have the speed star power, it's like, dang. So yeah, this might be good. What about for Stu, allowing him to heal health from the damage he does with his super? Those flames that people can run over and it does damage over time will now heal him. I don't know if we should heal him like 100%, maybe it should be like 50% or something like that. But even a small healing boost to Stu could allow you to just be that crazy aggro, and if you're good at it, it would pay off. Let's go full damage on 8-Bit. How about a gear that allows his super to now also buff his reload speed? Not a big buff, but still, he's got that damage boost plus a small reload speed boost. Pew pew. Now this might be toxic, but how about for Bo, increasing the radius of his mines by 20%. Yeah, this would be really annoying to face because trying to trip it and then go away is already kind of annoying as is, but it's a huge part of his kit. And what about for Dynamite, reducing the explosion delay of his super? You throw it out, there's a small delay before it explodes. In this case, it explodes a little bit faster. This way you can chain your supers even more. What about for Brock, allowing his super to fire faster? I really love this idea, especially because his second star power, allowing him to have a stronger super, is almost never used. But this could allow it to be possible. Oh, and Jesse, same thing, extra 1,000 health. Fine idea. How about for Bull? Every time he gets a kill with his super, it automatically recharges it. Personally, I love this idea because sometimes you have your super available and they're low health and they're slightly out of your range and you could kill them, but you don't want to do that because then you won't have your super. This could allow Bull to overcome that annoying issue. How about for Colt, allowing his super to fire a few extra bullets? I don't think this is a bad thing, because the super is already kind of hard to hit that many bullets with at a time anyways. So in reality, it probably wouldn't even be that big of a buff for it. All right, what about for Nita, allowing Bruce to move a little bit faster? This could be insane, especially combined with the stun gadget. You could put in a lot of work on people, but I like the idea. What about for Shelly? When she has her super, she recharges 20% faster. I think this is an interesting idea because for Shelly, you're probably only doing like chip shot damage when you have her super, because if there's an enemy within range you and you have your super, you're probably using it, right? So it's not a huge buff, but it could be useful. If you enjoyed this video, check out more great Brawl Stars ideas right over there. I'm sure you'll also enjoy. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you later. Peace.